Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gaming Mix podcast, your official podcast from analogstickgaming.com. If you don't know me by now, my name is Jordan. I am one of the co-owners of Analog Stick Gaming, and he's normally on my right, but he's not today. We'll get to why in a minute. But in the middle somewhere is Jeff, the founder of Analog Stick Gaming. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm awake. I'm
good. We have two very cool guests with us today. One of them decided to just rock up like 30 seconds ago, but you know it's what it is. This is somewhat of a crossover episode with our friends from the Outerhaven and the Spectator Mode podcast. We have, of course, the editor-in-chief Keith Mitchell. How are you doing, Keith?
I'm still dying, but I'm alive. See?
Okay, it was banter. He's like a mascot here. And over on the far right of the screen is my Assassin's Creed buddy, and we'll talk more about that later. Scott, how are you, Scott?
Howdy. I just got back from fun IT shenanigans, so...
See, that's how you know that Scott's lying, because IT shenanigans are not fun.
No. Otherwise, I would have shaved today.
So, on this show, if you're not familiar, we'd normally do news and then do what we've been playing at the end. We're actually going to flip that today just because there's so much news to talk about, and I want to have some time to talk about what we've been playing. And I think that me and Scott should probably start here, because what have we played recently, Scott?
We played Assassin's Creed recently, if that's what you're talking about.
Which Assassin's Creed would that be, Scott?
The one that's coming out in like a month and a half from now? Shadows, I think they call it.
Yes. We of course have a full written preview up on the outerhaven.net, so make sure you go and check that out, and I'll link it below. I did actually make a video version of that preview as well. And we also have a podcast discussion over on that other podcast I mentioned called, what was it again? Spectator Mode. That was it.
Oh, wow. Thanks for that. I remember that.
So, bygone era. No.
So, Scott, obviously there's lots of stuff people can read and go and watch and see, but how did you feel about Assassin's Creed Shadows with the 4 hours we got to play of it?
I think it's probably the best balance they have right now for attracting the old fan base and the new fan base. Because there's a lot of people that like the newer Assassin's Creed games, like Valhalla, Odyssey Origins sold like hotcakes. And there's a lot of other people who didn't like them because they weren't the older Assassin's Creed formula. And I think that with having the kind of like new combat with Yasuke and the old combat with Naue, I think it's a really good contrast between having those in the actual game, being able to choose which kind of combat you prefer. You prefer the more creative approaches of not attacking front face, or the Yasuke's, I actually like this combat and I want to actually interact with it.
And one of the things I particularly liked is that both characters have their own limitations and advantages. So if you're playing as Yasuke, you are not going to get around the world as easily, and you're not going to be able to parkour to certain areas and things like that. But then if you're playing as Naue, you're going to get overrun really easily in combat, which is something that Yasuke doesn't have an issue with.
7 enemies versus 1? Thought this was supposed to be fair.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I actually agree with you from the 4 hours that we played. I think that it seems to strike a really nice balance between old Assassin's Creed and new Assassin's Creed, and it feels like they've actually found that identity again and remembered that Assassin's Creed is meant to be about assassins. So you know, that's nice. And obviously we did also play the prologue, but we can't speak much about that because we don't want to spoil things for people. All I'll say is it was really cool. Like, that's how I'll summarize it. And I will actually have an article going up at some point about accessibility features in Assassin's Creed, so you know, make sure you look out for that one as well. But as we continue here, Keith, have you played anything that you can talk about and you'd like to talk about?
Well, as you know, as the last week and a half, I've been battling the fun game called the Flu, which I've been losing in, very much so. But seriously,
Try
folks,
leveling up.
go get your flu shot. If you have not gotten it, go get it. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
It's not fun to get the
I
flu.
got mine last week.
And your body is like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything that you want me to do. So, but I did play a little bit of Path of Exile 2. Thank God for my ROG ally. Please don't kill me, cat. So there's a funny little thing about that. So when we were at PAX West, we actually talked to one of the people who worked on the hardware side of releasing the ROG Ally. And when I had mentioned that device to her, she corrected me really quick and said, no, it's the ROG Ally, which we all know we're public gamers, but she's like, don't call it ROG. They don't like that.
Gonna call it ROG even harder.
And I was like, whatever. But I played that on there for a little bit until my body was like, no, you can't play it anymore. But I'm feeling better now, and I'm playing a lot more games, a lot more Path of Exile 2. Another game I can't talk about. But I also played the first Berserker Kazaa.
Oh, the demo, right.
That is an upcoming Souls. Can I really call it a Souls-like? We'll just call it an action RPG.
It's a Ninja Gaiden-like.
Yeah. We're in this war now where we're like, we got the action RPGs, we got the Souls-likes, and we go back to the original.
And then we got the other,
Gaidens,
and then we have the other type of action RPGs, and people are like, oh, are they? You know, it's. We've spoken about it a lot at the Outerhaven, but
it's really tiresome.
When are too many when is there going to be too many subgenres? and when can we get to the point where we just accept that action RPG can actually mean about 50 different things?
But it's like if you can respawn the enemies, it's a Souls-like.
Yeah, but I played that.
Oh no!
It's given the fact that it's from Nexon, and they usually are like 50-50 depending on what game they're making.
Yeah.
This game is really nice. The combat is nice. The world building is nice. I like it. It's going to be a great game. It's going to do great when it comes out. The action RPG / Souls-like community is going to eat this game up. It's a fun game.
Well, I'm sorry, but I won't be playing it because I believe that it comes out around the same time as Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'll be playing a lot of that video game. I can imagine.
Just because that's coming out, don't forget, that Monster Hunter Wilds is coming out before that, and I got to deal with that game too.
Yes.
Can we please not have every game out between January and March for the year?
I mean, it's weird because it does feel like it's a year's worth of games in a month, right?
I still got requests out, and I'm already just buried in stuff. I'm just firing off reviews like a.
Yeah, we I think all of us here probably have some requests in, but hopefully we can manage them all. I know that I've got a few that I'm...
do my dailies for Marvel Rivals as well too.
See now, I don't want to hear that.
I do it on Saturdays just for like the events, and then I stop playing.
I hate games when people are like, I gotta log in to do my dailies. I left that crap behind with World of Warcraft.
Marvel Rivals is good though.
Oh, it is so good.
No,
it is good. It is actually good.
Eating Rebel down with Captain America just feels so nice.
However, Keith, you did remind me that I also went back to Path of Exile 2. Yes, and you'd like to hear this.
Yes.
It no longer crashes on my PC.
Holy crap.
Good job. Now we just have to wait till Dragon Age does that.
Yeah. Can you play Dragon Age?
I actually haven't tried yet since getting this new GPU.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I probably should try, shouldn't I?
Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't leave it alone. Do not tempt the fates. Just leave it alone.
Fair. So Jeff, what have you been playing that you can talk about?
I beat Dynasty Warriors Origins.
Ooh, what was your first route?
Sorry?
What was the first route you did?
Well, I went with God, what is it? Sun or whatever. The red. I went
Oh,
red
the
side.
Wu? Yeah, the Soon family.
Yeah,
Nice.
and no, like the game is good. Like it's the first. Sorry, my dog is chaos in the back. We have a little metal ball thing, and
He's
going crazy.
Don't lie, he's playing video games again.
Yeah, he's doing my Marvel Rifle dailies.
He's doing the dailies.
Yeah, he plays the Submariner. I don't know why. But no, it's my first Dynasty Warriors that I've played
nice.
completion. I've played other ones for little bits of time. I've liked the Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, the Fire Emblem Warriors, Three Hopes and stuff like that. I've played all of those to completion as well. But in terms of like main Dynasty Warriors, this has been kind of like the first one, and it's really, really good. Like the gameplay is incredibly fluid. Like it plays how you want it to play when you see it. Like, you know, you'll see trailers of games and then you'll play it and you're like, this doesn't feel good. Like it looks good, it just doesn't feel good. This is the opposite, where it's like it looks good and it also plays good. There's tons of weapons. I think the Crescent Blade is probably my favorite one, just because like cleaving enemies and like when you cleave like enemies, like you see like 90 soldiers fly in the air and then they just evaporate into nothing, and it's super fun. It is a departure from the original series where like you're not playing as certain factions. You're playing as a middleman, essentially, who is kind of being used by the factions in certain ways. They have their own storyline, but I do feel that storyline feels like it's just part of its own game.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's part of like the Dynasty Warriors story. But this is still the Romance of the Three Kingdoms storyline. You're still dealing with like the particular factions that are part of that storyline. You're meeting characters you've met in other games. They're reinterpreted here. They look different. They have different weapons. So you're only ever playing as Zuluan. That's the only character that you're playing as. You can bring companions with you on certain missions and play as them, but you have to fill up a meter, and then you can play with them as long as that timer runs. And then when it runs out, you go back to playing as Zuluan, and you can pick like your one weapon at a time. If action calms down, you can switch your weapon and then go into something. So if there's a certain boss that's weak to a certain type of weapon, you can swap to that. It's got this neat overworld thing where you're basically running around this giant map. It's like a giant Zuluan. It almost looks like you're Godzilla, like rampaging around like the towns. And you'll interact with characters. You'll find items that you can take that back to craft and spend in currencies and things like that. There's bond moments as well too. But it's neat. Like it's not like Dynasty Warriors 9 did not do well for them.
No.
Like they were expecting it to like take off with this new type of open world type of thing that they were doing. It did not do well. So this is them kind of not only back to basics, but they've rebooted the series. So I don't know if there's going to be a Dynasty Warriors 10 or if it's just going to go Dynasty Warriors Origins 2 and then we're going to go into the Jin Dynasty. It's hard to say there, but what they've done is I think that they've taken a franchise that has been essentially done to death, and they've kind of like given it like a new lease on life, essentially. Like this is the best playing, I think, Dynasty Warriors game. It's also probably the most streamlined one. But the weapons also act differently now, more so, because the other ones they worked off very particular combos, and you still have that, but you only have it in the sword now. And then all these other weapons you can use all feel different, and they all feel really good. Like the Crescent Blade is essentially just like the combination between a sword and a spear, and it doesn't play like the sword or the spear. Like it's really, really good with what they've done. I think the choices that you get to make kind of have this. Whoa, hey, don't go on there. He's going on the cat wheel and he's destroying it. Here. There you go. You're off there. Ooh, I teased him with candy. All right. Like he's right back. That kid is back on the escalator again. Stop it. You got it? Okay. You get to make these choices, and then like some of them kind of feel like the stakes are a little low. And then once you start getting deeper into the story, you have to sort of make these choices that have more direct impact, and then eventually like kind of take to the field against those that you were just allying with, you know, a couple hours ago, and then having to fight them. There was one character that was like almost building up to be a rival for me. Like they were like, you watch yourself, I'm coming for you, and blah, blah, blah. And then when I finished a chapter and it had this little text going across about what happened during the years, and they're like, blah, 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 was killed in battle. And I'm like, you literally just got rid of that guy? Like we were beefing, like, and then, yeah, he's just gone. I don't know if it was based off the choice or the way that I went, but no, I really like the characters. I think there's too many characters. I think at a certain point in the game, when I started to branch away from like the main cast, I started getting all these like random new people that would show up, and I just skipped their Bond moments entirely. I'm like, my mental capacity right now is good for about 25 characters. Like we're pushing into 60 now, so I don't even want to know who you are. I just want to get your weapon skill upgrade trees and move on. It's like,
kind of feels like real life.
Like it's just like Chinese name generator, and they just hit a new character and shoved it out. And I'm like, no, I can't deal with any more characters.
That genuinely feels like you were describing real life for a second. Like you go into work, and you're, or in Keith's case, you sit at home. You're meant to be doing work, and you're like, I want to give you people my skills, and they're like, we don't even know who you are. It's life is one of those weird things where we don't need to know everyone, and we don't want to know everyone in video games either.
Oh god, I think I know like 10 people's names at work, and I've been there for like 4 years.
Fair.
Yeah, I just don't have the mental capacity to deal with like 60 characters that are all vying for my attention and telling me
that's a lot of characters in a video game.
Oh god, there's so many. But like the game is absolutely fantastic.
Origins cut down the number by half. There's usually like double that at this time period.
But yeah, no, it's good, and it's a good entry point for the series. It doesn't require any of the baggage of like, 50 games across multiple spin-offs and all that kind of stuff. But no, it's absolutely excellent. And if you are even interested in Dynasty Warriors, like at all, if you've even flirted with the idea of playing it, this is absolutely fantastic. I think there's a demo. But
nice.
Yeah,
we will save
checking out.
We will save the other thing you've been playing till we talk about news, Jeff. But I do have a quick question, as we were just talking about characters, and this is just one to answer off the top of your heads. Who is the most annoying video game character ever that you have encountered? It could be as simple as a merchant that you hate in a video game. It could be anything.
There's like a couple characters that have had like really, really bad voice actors. And that's more so the actor that's annoying, because you could be like, oh, Gex is super annoying, Bubsy is super annoying, and stuff like that. There was like the third character in like Sea of Stars that I just found absolutely annoying as hell.
I bet that Keith's least favorite character is probably from Elden Ring, right?
Nope, I was going to say Dark Souls, the Black Knight.
Oh, okay.
Who's that guy?
I was along the right lines.
When you get into the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, and you go down where those graves are, and there's that flying thing at the start. It's one of the first enemies you kind of encounter. Those things are fucking annoying.
Yeah, they're annoying. They're annoying. Scott, any annoying characters you've encountered in the millions of JRPGs that you've played?
I think the irony is that when you first said that, my instantly went to that fanboy from Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Did not like that guy at all. And the fact that they brought him back in Starfield for some stupid reason.
To be fair, that was funny, though. The fact that they brought
he was
him back
better
was
in Starfield than he was in Oblivion, but that's like the first thing I could like thought of on the top of my head. Is just like, that one guy from Oblivion that just follows you around constantly.
Yes, fair. Well, now I think it's time to get to the news because you've seen some of it scrolling along the bottom, and we're actually going to tackle it in that order because Nintendo decided to announce something recently. What was that?
An alarm.
I gotta find the tab.
Alarm mode 2.
I gotta find the tab. There we go. Okay, all right. So all of our news today is coming to us from VGC. They just have it compiled.
Support independent sites, people, just like our sites, the Outerhaven.net and analogstickgaming.com.
I'm not going to
Once I can figure out where my dog is, I think he's chewing.
I mean, where's your Outerhaven gear, Keith? I thought you'd be representing yourself. Scott has it there.
I mean,
all right. Are we good?
I'm me. I'm representing because I'm me.
True.
He is the Outerhaven.
Right. So, speaking of the Outerhaven, we probably have this bit of news up on that website as well. But what have Nintendo announced recently, Jeff?
Let's see here. Sorry, my dog is like. He doesn't like independent gaming outlets at all. He's all about he just keeps talking about IGN. Like, holy hell. But all right.
Is he going to start up a new aggregation site?
I have no idea. Like, Banter seems like the kind of dog that likes like the Metro. So like,
fair.
He's posting articles. Okay, it's Sugar making those noises. It's not Banter. I apologize, Banter. Yeah, your big sister Sugar is making those noises. Okay, all right. After countless months of speculation, Nintendo has finally officially announced Nintendo Switch 2. The successor to the Nintendo Switch was revealed in a trailer published on Nintendo's social media and YouTube channels on Thursday, which featured a 2-minute look at new hardware. As suggested by previous leaks, the Switch 2 looks similar to the original console, with the same layout of a screen surrounded by 2 Joy-Con controllers. However, this time, the controllers appear to be connecting with a powerful magnet, making it less likely they will loosen and slide apart from the console over time, something current long-time Switch owners are now experiencing. The Joy-Cons also now appear to be black, with the color appearing under the sticks, at the side where they connect to the console, and on their removable side grips. The hardware will also come with a longer stand and a wider tilt that lets it lie almost horizontally. The video also officially confirms the presence of an extra button on the right Joy-Con, which has previously been described as a C button in various leaks. While some previous renders from the third-party peripheral manufacturers appear to suggest this new button would have the letter C on it, the button in Nintendo's video has no marking on it whatsoever. The video also briefly shows the Joy-Cons sliding into the ground towards the console, lending further credibility to speculation that on at least one of the controllers will have the ability to work as an optical mouse. Nintendo has yet to officially confirm a release date or price for the console, meaning that at least some speculation will continue as the release nears. There will, however, be a Nintendo Direct focusing on the Switch on April 2nd. The trailer also gives a very brief glimpse at a new Mario Kart game running on Switch 2 hardware. At the end of the video, Nintendo confirms that the Switch 2 will be backwards compatible with the original Switch, saying it plays both physical and digital Switch games. It does warn that certain Switch games may not be supported or fully compatible with the Switch 2. And there's going to be some trial events that you can take part in New York, Paris, and a variety of other locations starting on April 4th. So yeah, like leaks obviously kind of like stole the thunder of a lot of this release, and that largely comes down to a lot of third-party peripheral companies that didn't really sign any type of non-disclosure agreement. However, I don't understand why you even...
I mean, Keith certainly saw a few things, didn't you, Keith?
There were a lot of things that were shown at CES 2025, because obviously a lot of manufacturers, companies are already on board with making accessories for the console. There was one in particular that looked like it got a little bit of trouble. Genki saying that it actually had
access to the real Switch 2.
It didn't.
How do you sign? How do you do that and not have them sign NDAs?
No, everybody had to, because I talked to one particular company, which I won't mention because they were like, please don't. And he was like, look, we're working on stuff, but we don't have access to an actual Switch 2, because we sat there for like a good half an hour talking about all the games that he wants to see running on a Switch 2, and he has an very passionate affection with Bayonetta 2 and 3. Where he was like, I can't wait for these games to run better because they run like crap on the Nintendo Switch right now. And I was like, well, don't you have access to it? He's like, no, we don't have access to a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, most likely when accessory makers have to like get access, they usually just get access to what's known as like a mold, which is just like the dimensions and everything that is physical about it. But it's not like the actual processing power or anything's actually on there.
But how do you get access to that stuff without even signing an NDA? Because you got to figure
there's
that
no way. No, there's no way you don't. That's why Genki is in so much trouble.
Genki got in hot water because of that, but they apparently didn't get a mold from the other ways that the accessory makers got their molds. They got their molds from another company who already signed the NDA from that company. So they're like a third-hand experience of the Switch 2 mold. So that's why they're allowed to they're like legality.
I was going to say, technically, that makes them not legally responsible. So nothing can be done to them, no?
Well, this is Nintendo, and
Nintendo will find a loophole.
Go to them and go to that other company
Nintendo doesn't care.
Them and then just deny them everything and say, hey, you're no longer.
That's pretty much it. They can go to you and say, hey, play ball, do what we tell you, or we won't give you anything ever again.
Yeah.
Your call.
Yeah. I mean, the trailer also was pretty tight-lipped because I think that this trailer was probably made out of desperation, and that the April 2nd or whatever was meant to be the official,
the big one. Yeah,
I think so. Release. I think they probably made this trailer because everything leaked and was spot on, and they were like, well, we might as well just at least show it now so that we calm people a little bit, because it was getting to the point where people were getting a bit, I don't know, nervous. I don't even know if that's the right word, but
they were getting bored. They were getting tired of saying, okay, Nintendo, where's your new platform? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, like either give it to us or don't kind of thing.
Yeah. Though this also works in another aspect too. When they were talking about with the Nintendo, that they said that they wanted to release this trailer just so that third-party developers were able to now officially announce what games they will be releasing on the Nintendo Switch 2.
That makes sense. That makes sense, because also with it coming towards the end of the financial year for many companies, that will probably bump their stock a little bit, I would imagine.
Yeah. Not as much as Nintendo stock has been bumped since that reveal, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see like I wouldn't be a bit surprised if like the launch for the Nintendo Switch is like 80% of games that were like
skipped the Switch
4 to 5 years ago, you know, like
so,
Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins and all that.
So do you know what I think we might see a lot of at the launch of the Nintendo Switch? And this kind of tees up one of our other news stories here. But I actually think we might see a lot of Xbox games come to the Nintendo fairly quickly.
I don't know about that. I really want to talk about that. Can we just put a pin in this right now and just say, hey, look, the Switch 2 still needs to be able to play games at a decent
consistent frame rate.
If you're telling me that I'm gonna buy this brand new system and it still runs games sub 1080p, 60 frames per second, we riot. That's it. I mean, come on, Nintendo. You can't do it twice. I mean, they can. They've done it.
I mean, the thing is, most people. I agree with you. You know, I'm all in on the PC thing now. I've been drinking the Kool-Aid, as it were.
It's not the Kool-Aid. It's just opening your eyes, taking off the blinders, giving you more potential choices.
So I am with you. However, I think we do have to keep in mind that the vast majority of people who buy Nintendo consoles, quite frankly, could not care less about the frame rate and resolution of video games, especially because the majority of them play in handheld mode anyway.
But the funny thing you say that is, at the beginning, there were a lot of people that were like, oh, we don't care. But towards the middle of the generation, where the lifespan of the Switch, they started going, okay, I need a bit more.
I think
I think that's a vocal minority that you're seeing on social media. Because true. You take a look at like how many games or how many Switches have actually sold, and like you take a look at how many, like say, like Mario Kart has actually sold, and there's probably a lot of people that like the Wii, they probably only bought like 4 or 5 games, and they're just playing the crap out of them. And
Yeah, even when you look at sales of software, Nintendo still is really high on that list. They still sell games like hotcakes.
Oh, Nintendo knows how to print money. They know this. They have the formula. But I think what's happening, slowly happening, is people are going, hey, look, we want more. Now, yes, there's still a bazillion people out there to go, I don't care if I have 10 frames per second. I'm happy. But there are less people out there going, wait, no, we can't take this anymore.
What I would say, though, and this is just speculation where we can bring in what Phil Spencer sort of said recently, but what I would say in regards to Xbox games being on Switch is I do think there's a chance that some of them might be running on Switch through xCloud.
Oh, Lord.
I can read the news article so we have a little context here, because we're kind of jumping ahead here.
Yes. What did he say, Jeff? Yeah,
so Microsoft Gaming CEO has praised Nintendo Switch 2 and says it plans to support the upcoming platform with ports of Xbox games. Nintendo finally announced the Nintendo Switch earlier this month, and although new games have been officially announced for the platform, other than Mario Kart, Xbox's teams are said to be prepping multiple releases, including Diablo 4, Halo, the Master Chief Collection, and Microsoft Flight Simulator. Microsoft's newly acquired Activision is also committed to releasing Call of Duty games on Switch 2 via its agreement with the FTC. Speaking in a new interview with Gamertag Radio, Phil Spencer said the following: I was exchanging emails with Furukawa-san, the CEO of Nintendo, and I gave him a big congrats and said my old eyes appreciate the larger screen. Nintendo and their innovation and what has meant to the industry, I just always applaud the moves that they make. They did a little flash video, and I know that we'll get more details over time. I'm really just looking forward to supporting them with the games that we have, and I think that they're in a really important part. I think they're a really important part of this industry. It's hard with what's publicly out there right now for everybody to get their heads around it, but who would have ever bet against the success of that team? They are just masterful in what they do. Switch is a massive success, and I think the Switch 2 will be that as well. So yeah, like, we're definitely going to be seeing some ports of some stuff, and like whether or not that stuff's also becoming the PlayStation, who knows? But I still think it's a good move because, again, like you broaden that audience.
And you're also maximizing profit on the games, right? Which, as we've seen across the industry at the moment, games are more expensive ever to make. Like, we can already tell, Xbox has had a lot of bad press for making this decision. But genuinely, based on what PlayStation have been saying over the last 3 or 4 months, I actually don't think they're going to be as far behind as we think they might, because they've been talking about how games are costing more to make and they need to find new audiences and all that sort of thing as well. It seems to be only Nintendo that can get away with not needing to find a new audience.
I was thinking of making a post, and maybe it's already been done before, I have no idea. But that whole, like, this is an Xbox ad campaign that they had. I wanted to take a picture of like the PS5 and go, this is an Xbox.
Yeah. And do you know what the worst thing is? The more that I think about this direction that they're going in, the more that I actually think that they are doing the right thing. They just did it in such a badly messaged way that it confused people, and it still confuses people even now, and it's like we can jump into, obviously recently there was the Xbox Developer Direct, and I remember I was watching that with Keith, and some of the games that showed up in that actually had coming to PlayStation 5 written on them, which is something we don't see from any of these companies. Even when we know that a game is multi-platform, they never put in their own show.
Hogwarts Legacy. There were lots of people that assumed that was PlayStation exclusive, just because of like all the marketing and talk about it and stuff.
So it is a strange one, because the whole Xbox thing is obviously really changing, but I do think we will see them support Switch 2 quite regularly. Really, I can just see them doing a lot of stuff, because I think that also them supporting Switch may help them and give them some sort of porting experience for whatever this handheld is that they're working on. So I can see it having that kind of effect. But Scott, I want to ask you, because you're the kind of biggest Nintendo guy here.
Yeah.
If Xbox do send some games the way of the Switch 2, what do you think would be most likely to show up over there?
I mean, I know one thing that a lot of people from Nintendo would be getting the Banjo and Kazooie games from them.
I think everybody wants Kazooie.
Everybody would want that, yes. But I know Nintendo fans especially love Banjo Kazooie. As much as I don't know, I mean, I'm sure they're going to find audiences for more of the live service elements of like Call of Duty and stuff. I just don't think they'll be as big as, say, like Splatoon is right now on Nintendo.
What about something like
one live service game?
What about something like Sea of Thieves?
Sea of Thieves would be an interesting one to put on. I think it would also really heavily depend on how the internet infrastructure is going to be with Nintendo, because their online experience is still very, very behind.
Scott is very.
It's going to be two strings between cans instead of one.
The question is, what is worse, their online experience or FromSoft's co-op in any video game ever?
Well, let's answer it with a very polite answer. At least you can still play with people on From Software.
Yeah, basically, if you aren't Splatoon or Mario Kart, you're not doing anything online.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I don't know. Tetris 99 worked really well.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that the Nintendo Switch 2 does a lot better with their internet infrastructure. But the problem is Nintendo does a lot of outsourcing for their the mainframes, for the cloud, for
they should just outsource to Microsoft
servers. Mm-hmm. I mean, that would be helpful, especially giving them a little more closer to Microsoft, because Microsoft has a lot of servers and stuff that they can utilize for that.
And that's why, as much as I know that xCloud isn't great, or it certainly isn't the best cloud gaming service available at the moment, we all know that. We all know that GeForce Now is clearly the best cloud gaming service right now.
Well, wouldn't Nintendo almost have access to something similar because of their connections with NVIDIA? Because isn't NVIDIA making their graphics?
NVIDIA's
they're basically making the chip.
Yeah, they're making their chip, but that's about it.
Yeah. But I just, because Nintendo were using some weird cloud-based solution before.
They were using a third-party cloud-based company to do all of their this is running on the cloud, which is also a very hit and miss experience. But most of the time, it's a miss.
And I think one of the positive things that could potentially come from a closer relationship with Xbox for them is, can we actually use your cloud service? Do you know what I mean? Because at least it's a significant improvement on the one that we were using, in the sense that it at least actually works.
Yeah. I really hope. I mean, I much prefer being able to play the games natively on Nintendo, but if they are going to continue having cloud games on the Switch 2, I would prefer them to go from a different company than the one they're using now.
For sure. And I also think, to be fair, while we're on the subject of cloud gaming, it's very likely that in the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to see probably some significant improvements in that realm. Because if NVIDIA are where they are now, everyone else should at least be there in 5 to 10 years, you'd assume.
That's a lot of wishful thinking. There's a history for why I said that.
Okay, that's fair. But anyway, let's move on to some more very positive Xbox stuff for everyone involved, really. And that is the Xbox Developer Direct. Jeff, what showed up at the developer direct, because we of course did know that there was going to be South of Midnight and Doom the Dark Ages and Clair Obscur, which we'll talk about all of those in a minute. But there were actually 2 surprises, not just one surprise. So what showed up?
So the first title that was kind of shown off was kind of like their surprise title. They announced that a developer of kind of pretty high acclaim was working on a brand new game, and that new game is Ninja Gaiden 4. The game is a collaboration between Team Ninja and Platinum Games and will be published by Xbox Game Studios Publishing, with a release planned in fall 2025 for Series X, S, PS5, and PC. And the game will also be available on Game Pass on day one. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, a remaster of the Xbox 360 game, was also released that day in a surprise release. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is dubbed the definitive version of the game and is available on Xbox Series X and S as well as Game Pass. Ninja Gaiden 4 will be the first main entry since 2012. The game will feature a new protagonist called Yakumo, who will be set in a fresh world where players can immerse themselves in a brand new experience. The game will still feature series regular Ryo Hayabusa, who will play a pivotal role in the story. Gaiden 4 is set in a Tokyo drastically transformed by the influence of the underworld, and according to its creators, difficulty will be influenced by Ninja Gaiden 2, but balanced so that players don't feel like they're at an unfair advantage. They said, "We are staying true to the challenge and deep action that defines the Ninja Gaiden series while incorporating the speed and dynamic expression of Platinum Games. We are putting all our efforts into making this a true mainline sequel that continues to evolve the series." The game is currently about 70 to 80% complete, and we've encountered the polishing phase. We'll continue to work closely with Team Ninja, ensuring that every detail meets the expectations of fans. So yeah, like we not only got an announcement for Ninja Gaiden 4, which is, again, published by Xbox, so they have a lot of influence on bringing it to Game Pass and the fact that this game exists in the first place. But then we also got the surprise release of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is a built from the ground up remake in Unreal Engine 5. I was hearing somewhere, and I can't verify this right now. I heard that they lost the source code for the original 2, and so that's why this was essentially rebuilt entirely from the ground up.
Yeah. What I heard too is that
there's tons of games that have lost the source code.
Exactly.
Lost, but they had Sigma's code that they were able to basically put into Unreal Engine.
Okay.
So that's why 2 had so if you look at like the difference between like 2 and 2 Sigma, 2 actually has more like stuff in it, more costumes, has the online functionality, it has more enemies and like difficulty. And so when they brought it over to Xbox 360 under Sigma, that was when they pushed the difficulty a little bit down. They added less stuff because there's licensing stuff with PlayStation over there, and they couldn't use the online functionality for some reason. And I think that might have been when they lost the code. And so because it's been lost for so long, they've just been basically putting all the new remasters off of the Sigma release. So 2 Black is the Sigma's underneath the hood kind of a deal. So the difficulty is based on that. The like main game loop is based on that. Some people don't like that it's under Sigma. Some wanted the original. But honestly, I think Sigma is the most polished. So the original had like more difficulty, but it's also kind of unfair because they kind of had all these enemies that would show off of the screen. So you couldn't actually see them or see any projectiles attacking you. It was a mess, but it's also like one of those messes people were like in, say, the Dark Souls experiences where you just had to get good. But Dark Souls, you could actually get good.
Yeah. No,
I mean, you could just power level yourself and just suck.
Yeah.
And just power your way through a fight.
Yeah, you could find other builds online with like Dark Souls. That's fair.
Yeah, like I played about an hour of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and holy fuck, does that game look good? The character models look absolutely insane. Like I was watching some of the side by side stuff, and it's staggering how much better that game looks. Like the lighting alone is like tremendously better as well too. But no, it still plays old. Like it feels dated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
with all the camera
Yeah,
works.
they
I
have-
kind of wish that they would have I kind of wish they
Yes.
would have redone the camera.
Yeah.
But no, it's still solid, and like it's great because we've also got Ragebound coming out from I
Oh
think
my
the
God,
Blasphemous Deaths.
That's the one
Yeah,
I'm looking
devs.
for.
That
I
one
don't care
looks
about
good.
Black. I care about this one.
Yeah, but no, like Ninja Gaiden's back. I mean, we've got 3 games pretty much either released or announced, essentially. But yeah, it's great. Like I would love to see them do an Unreal Engine remake of the first one, and even the third one as well too.
Yeah.
But then I don't know what team handled this particular port, because you got to imagine that Team Ninja or I guess Platinum Games is technically the developer on 4. So maybe
Yeah.
Team Ninja did, do the port of this Black while also working on Rise of Ronin.
Yeah.
But for all we know, Ninja Gaiden 4 might never come out, because if you're basing it on Platinum Games' history of working with Xbox, what was the last time they worked with Xbox? What happened?
We don't talk about that. No.
Yeah, like the thing about it is like they're saying like they're 70-80% done and they're entering the polishing phase. It's coming out this year.
Oh yeah, I would assume
Like
so.
that trailer showed so many segments of where you go in that game that obviously they're in a very good spot for it.
And I mean, to Xbox's credit, they actually, it's a shame this one did leak in the last week, because they managed to keep this one really under wraps.
They kept it
for a
tight
long
for so
time.
long until the developer direct got announced.
Yeah, so that is a shame, but they're going to have a hell of a year for Game Pass. So
Gaiden
4
got
leaked. No one knew about 2 Black, but 4
Nobody
leaked.
knew about 2 Black. Yep.
Oh, I never even saw the leak for 4 at all.
Good job.
Well done.
I would have been
That's
a
good.
lot. I would have been a lot happier if I didn't, to be honest. But
Yeah, because that would have been a hell of a moment. If that didn't leak, like, that would have been an amazing moment.
yes.
But yeah, there, whether you like Xbox's new direction or not, they're gonna have a hell of a year for Game Pass. That's one thing I can say. And one of those, well, 2 of the games really. No, I lie. 3, all 3 games that showed up are coming fairly soon. So let's tackle them in order, because obviously South of Midnight kind of appeared and finally got its release date of April the 8th. We got a bit more information about the character, who is Hazel, and her abilities, and some kind of teases about where they come from and what she is in this world and all that sort of thing. We saw more gameplay, and I just really like the look of this game. I know the stop motion thing isn't going to be for everybody, but they've confirmed that there is an option to turn that off, and I think that's good. But I like that it has a unique presentation. The gameplay looks fun. It looks maybe a little bit floatier than I would like. I like my gameplay to have a bit more weight to it. But with gameplay, you never know until you're actually feeling it, right? So I'm intrigued to see on that one. And then, Scott, I'm going to let you talk about the next game, because you're the JRPG enthusiast.
Yeah, so I was really happy to see this next one, which is Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
I thought it was Charlie Cox Expedition 33.
Yeah, Charlie Cox.
Pretty much. It was really cool to see them basically have like dynamic turn-based system. I mean, we already saw a little bit of how combat works in previous trailers, but they also showed that how travel works in the overworld is going to be a lot similar to the older JRPGs of the time, of where you basically are in like an overworld map.
And it surprised me. That surprised me, because I didn't think they were going to go that direction.
Yeah,
So
you thought they
them
were actually
having the
giving you
old
the
school
full-scale environments that they've been
You know,
giving
just do what
Yeah.
they did in Dynasty or Origins, where you're like
Yeah.
Godzilla.
So that's essentially what they're doing, but they're giving you other like options of movement than just like walking, because they like show like flying and gliding and stuff that happen for the overworld that you get to run around in. You have to like talk to certain people to go to different locations and utilize them as like a way to fly. So I really enjoyed like a lot of what they showcased in Expedition 33. And it still is going to be surprising to me to see like it's like a 30-hour game because it feels like it should be longer just looking at the trailers that they
Is
show.
that what they've said? 30
Yeah.
hours?
It's going to be like
okay.
maybe
Maybe I can actually fit that game in.
So it'll be interesting to see because they said it's like a shorter experience of JRPGs, which 30 hours is a shorter experience than when you get like the 60 to 80 hours ones that like keep popping up, or even like Persona, Metaphor, or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth of like the hundreds of hours in.
What I want to know, because I know myself and Jeff have both requested it, and we're obviously interested in playing it as well. But Keith, do you have any interest in this game?
No.
Fair. But you do have interest in another game, right?
Oh, yes.
Well,
what game is that, Keith?
Oh, that would be a little game called, is that Doom?
It is.
Doom. It's Doom. It's Doom. It's Doom. So,
but you were lucky, weren't you, Keith?
So they had a hands-off preview of the game, which was pretty much amounted a big fat nothing, because what they showed us 2 days prior to the direct was exactly what they showed on the direct. So it was like you didn't show us anything different than what you showed the entire world. So I guess thanks for that.
Early look at the direct rather than
that's pretty much it. But I had started talking to people about the game. You know, I wasn't telling them everything. They're like, you can't talk about the game. But I'm like, there are some people like they were like, I don't want to play this game because it's going to be terrible. I'm like, no, this is going to be the best Doom ever. Trust me. I can't tell you why, but it is. It really
does look great.
From being able to get inside a 30-foot mecha to a cybernetic dragon to getting rid of all the verticality, which I didn't really like in Doom Eternal.
It made Eternal really confusing, honestly. To have
that was the only thing that honestly dragged down my review, is that like the platforming in that game sucked.
Yeah.
It did. And that's why they were like, we're not doing that.
We're going to get rid of that.
We're getting rid of all that. We're giving you
we're giving you a mech instead. There we go.
We're giving you more space to kill stuff. We're giving you, excuse me, you're now basically a tank instead of, as they like to say, a fighter jet. You're going to take the damage. You're going to take all the hits. You're going to take it right back to the people. You're going to stand your ground. You're going to kick all sorts of ass. And as they were showing this to me, I'm like, wait, you can deflect. You can parry. You can skill. I was like, so what games have you been playing lately, guys? Stuff looks
like 2 now. No.
They've been playing Call of Duty.
It's a lot
of
cool stuff that id Software has put into this game. The Saw Shield, all the guns. Oh my god, this game just looks amazing. And yes, I want to play it. I just want to play it.
I think myself and Jeff are going to be fighting over who reviews that for Analog Stick Gaming. Well, because
I know I was going to do it for us, but then Carl's like, I want to do it. I'm like, you know what? Fine. That's fine. Because we're both up there in terms of playing Doom like before most people were even born.
Before the 2016 Doom. No.
Before the
I mean, you certainly played it before I was playing video games, so I'll give you that.
Also, one thing that really got me is, and we were talking about this the other day. I forget who is handling the music, but obviously it's not Mick Gordon.
Not Mick Gordon.
And a lot of people a lot of people online are getting pissed off, going that it screwed over Mick, and it's like, no, that's not what happened whatsoever, guys.
No, you realize that they both were having difficulties communicating with each other, so they decided to go to someone else.
So, and from what we've heard, the music sounds good.
Yeah.
So now there might be, I can't say if there's going to be the same issues in terms of, fidelity and compression, which will piss a lot of people off, but we will just have to wait to see when this game comes out, which is May 15th.
Yeah.
So it's coming out soon, guys.
And I will say that I don't think it looked as good as the previous 2 games, but that could have just been no, as in gameplay it did. But I'm talking about
what? Did you press play on the video, Jordan?
I'm talking about presentation wise.
Was the video paused?
No, I think it's probably a YouTube compression thing
that I saw.
Did you see anyway,
when we loaded up the Skull Crusher and was mowing down those demons?
I did. But anyway, I want to hear from Jeff. How did you feel about all of these games? Which one of them excited you the most?
I mean, South of Midnight to me looks fine. Like I'm not a fan of that studio, so I'm excited to see what they kind of did because I didn't like We Happy Few at all. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm excited to play it because I think everything that they're doing is really good. I think Doom, the Dark Age, I think is it's the equivalent of watching a slam dunk on a top 10 slam dunks compilation because they're all going to be bangers. So you already know that game's going to be good. Like there's no doubt that game is not going to absolutely kick ass. I think Clair Obscur, I haven't watched the new footage because I'm trying to stay somewhat detached from it so that I can kind of go in and kind of experience everything. I just hope that game doesn't go the same route as Unknown 9 Awakening, where it comes out and no one cares.
No one talks about it. Yeah, that was sad.
Like I wanted to play that game. I wanted to be a voice for it because it looked actually really good.
I mean, I think it being on Game Pass Day 1 will considerably help it, right? Like,
yeah, I mean that's definitely going to help it for sure. I don't know. Like to me, it looks really, really good, and I think it is tapping into a type of audience that is kind of hungry for it, because I think you take a look at like Final Fantasy Rebirth and whatever, when you have that active kind of RPG systems and stuff. I think a lot of people are going to be really excited for it. I don't think it's going to be a massively big seller just because of the year that we kind of have starting already.
Yeah,
I mean, it's such a crazy year, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What does that come out?
That one is the 28th of April, I believe. Is near the end of April. I know that.
Yeah, so that's when Monster Hunter Wilds comes out, right?
Wilds is end of February.
Oh, no, February.
Yeah, Wilds. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wilds,
Sorry, I got my months confused. So I mean, that's not a bad release date for it. It also depends on whether or not Nintendo's going to almost shadow drop the Switch 2 or something like that.
Oh, geez, that would suck.
So everything we've heard suggests that the Switch 2 isn't coming out until late June.
Yeah, it's gonna be a summer drop. It's gonna be kids are out of school. Parents, go buy your kids a Switch 2.
It is. That's literally it.
But I don't know. I like Clair Obscur so far from what I've seen of it. And again, I've only seen, I think, the first 2 trailers. I haven't watched anything on the Direct. The only stuff I watched for the Direct at all was the Doom stuff because it was airing when I was on my break.
Awesome. No.
And then I watched the trailer stuff for Ninja Gaiden 4 and Black through the Maximilian Dude streams when we did that.
So there's 2 things I want to talk about off the back of this before we move on to the next bit of news.
Yeah.
First of all, I find it funny how just last year Xbox were like, oh yeah, we're probably not gonna do shadow drops again. We kind of probably aren't gonna, we don't want to set that expectation. But now, 2 years out of 3, they've shadow dropped games.
What do ninjas do?
Xbox has no idea
what do ninjas do. They drop from the shadows.
And what I will say to their credit is I think that dropping something like Ninja Gaiden 2 Black as a shadow drop is different to dropping a brand new IP that nobody knows.
Yeah.
And
I mean, for sure, but I mean, who expected an Unreal Engine 5 Ninja Gaiden 2 remake?
Nobody.
True.
Literally nobody.
That's true, they got the remasters 3 years ago. No,
but what I'm saying is the second that you hear about that game's existence, it sells itself, right? Because the people know what it is. Yeah. Whereas when it's a brand new game, that's always going to be harder to be successful on a shadow drop.
I mean, I wouldn't say that Ninja Gaiden isn't a known IP because they were reinvented back when Xbox 360. So
that's true.
Sure, but I mean, they're all, again, there hasn't been a new game in 13 years.
It's been a while.
Clear the market that's hitting right now. When they look at it, they're like, "Oh, this is Souls-like." I'm like, "No."
I mean, that's not much different to GTA. I mean, that's not much different to GTA. So we're fine.
Seriously.
And then
GTA 6 just shadow dropping in November this year of just being like, oh yeah, right, we're working on this thing.
and then the other thing is, as I mentioned earlier, this is a hell of a run of games for Xbox. And yes, okay, I know that Clair Obscur is not first party, it's not even second party, but everything else here was. and everything in this show is day one Game Pass and coming in the first 5 months of the year, really, if we take out Ninja Gaiden 4, right? Is there any way at this point that they don't get Publisher of the Year just based on the pure amount of games they seem like they're going to have?
Are you making up things, Publisher of the Year? Are you making up things now?
No.
Clearly, it's going to be Nintendo as soon as they drop.
No, in the 2025 Analog Stick Gaming Awards, we're going to be adding Publisher of the Year. Just
I mean, I get that you're happy, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Jordan, they got Publisher of the Year in 2021.
We've got an entire
right
year.
now, though. This year, if the rumors are true, you got Nintendo dropping a 3D Mario game and a Mario Kart in the same year.
Yeah. How do you feel about that Mario Kart pick from me now, Scott?
About the same I feel as my 3D Mario pick.
But yeah, I just, do you know what? This is the one part of I can understand Xbox fans being upset, because it feels like they've just changed direction as they've got to the point of actually being able to deliver what they've aimed to deliver for the last sort of 7 or 8 years.
It's almost like games take a long time to develop.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think that that's what upsets people, is because they go, oh my God, if you could have just waited one more year. you know, that's kind of how it feels. Is like, if you had given it one more year, you might have made some different decisions.
And I still find it funny because people were talking about Doom and all that kind of stuff. They're like, oh, fuck Xbox, I'm not going to support them. I'm going to wait. I'm going to buy it on PlayStation 5.
You're going to buy their game. That's supporting them.
You're literally supporting them. If anything, they're making more money off you.
Yeah, because you could have accessed the game cheaper.
I don't know. It's so funny. I was talking to these people, they're like, oh, I remember when they used to have exclusives. I'm like, Xbox is an ecosystem. It doesn't need exclusives. That's not how an ecosystem works.
They've been focused on Game Pass since the last 4 years, and that's most likely what they're going to continue to focus on.
Yeah, and business-wise, it clearly makes sense for them. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it, right? So clearly they have some knowledge that they don't want to give to the public for whatever reason. That actually it's very good for them, but people just constantly doubt that. However, do you know another publisher that doesn't like exclusives anymore? They're called Square Enix. And we all know why that is. It's because their exclusive games decide not to sell very well. But what is one game that won't be exclusive to just one console next time around? Jeff.
Well, that the producer of Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy has assured players that the third part won't be exclusive to PlayStation 6. The first part of Final Fantasy VII Remake was initially a PS4 exclusive before coming to PS5 and PC more than a year later. The second part, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, follows suit initially by releasing only on PS5 with a PC version that released shortly a long time ago. Because of the length of time required to develop each part, some have speculated that the as of yet untitled third part of the trilogy may continue the trend and may release exclusively on PlayStation 6. However, series producer Yoshinori Katase, I butcher every single Japanese name. You're gonna have to deal with it. All right, we're gonna call this guy Yoshi K. Okay, says players don't have to worry about this being the case. In an interview with a Japanese publication, Yoshi K had put it to him on the interview, who said those who have played Final Fantasy VII Remake on PS4 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on PS5, I think there may be some concern that the third work will be available only for the next generation console. Yoshi K said, laughed and replied, saying, no, you can be rest assured about the next one. Yoshike added that the work on the third part started right after Rebirth ended in March to April of 2024, so we've been developing it for about 9 months already. It should be noted that Yoshike's comments don't necessarily mean Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 won't be exclusive to PlayStation consoles when it releases, simply that it won't be exclusive on PlayStation 6.
Yep.
So yeah, that one, I think, to me, it kind of makes sense because then on PlayStation 5, you have the entire trilogy.
Yep.
And I think, honestly, then it it will have a PlayStation 6 version that will run in like, native 4K at 120 FPS and blah, blah, blah.
And to be fair, I also think that the PlayStation 5 generation is going to last longer than some people think it is. And I think that almost means that by default, this game would have to come out on PlayStation 5, because I don't think they're going to hold it for too long.
Yeah, because you got to figure they've got at least another 2.5 years of development on it.
Yeah.
At least, based on the turnaround that they've had with Rebirth.
Yes.
Because again, like this is what happens when you keep a team together and you don't lay off half of them.
Yes. It's like they know what to do together or something.
Almost. It's like a well-oiled machine. It's like, it's like the games industry right now is trying to continue to drive down the highway, and they're like, oh shit, the fourth tire just popped off. I guess we're just gonna have to keep driving.
But I do have a big question for you, for all of you. Will Final Fantasy VII Part 3 of the remake release first, or will Hollow Knight release first? What do we think? What do we think if we were to make some guesses? Because I feel like we've had some information recently, right, Jeff, that might give us an indication.
I think Hollow Knight is this year.
Interesting.
All right, so Team Cherry has provided a rare status update on Hollow Knight Silksong. Yes, the game is real, progressing, and will release. Matthew Griffin,
yes, it is real.
PR and marketing for the title, wrote on X in response to a plea for information about the highly anticipated sequel. It might not be much to go on, but it's nevertheless a significant update given that fans have heard very little about the game over the last 2 years. Hollow Knight Silksong was announced in February of 2019, is due on pretty much everything, and will also be available on Game Pass Day 1. The most significant update about the game in recent years came in May of 2023 when Team Cherry confirmed that it had been delayed. We had planned to release it in the first half of 2023, but development is still continuing. We're excited by how the game is shaping up, and it's gotten quite big, so we just want to take the time to make the game as good as we can. So Silksong will introduce a brand new kingdom, over 150 new enemies, and Silk Soul mode, which is a new difficulty setting that greatly changes the game after the first playthrough. Honestly, I think it's probably going to get released. I don't think it'll be a shadow drop or anything like that.
No.
I think if it is, it's either going to be a Nintendo thing, or it will be at Xbox's June showcase. Yeah.
I want to know this, because the game originally started off as DLC for Hollow Knight. So. How much stuff are they putting into this game?
Called feature creep.
It's going to be 500 hours long.
It's like, what the hell are you putting into this game?
They kept making stuff, and they're like, "What if we did this? Let's do it. What if we did this? Let's do it. What if we did this? Let's do it."
To these guys. Yeah. Don't make your games DLC anymore. Just make them full games.
How they're going to release it is they're going to remaster The Last of Us Part 1 again. And then when you beat that, it unlocks Silksong after the credits roll.
Ridiculous.
The thing is, that was a joke.
What was that one game, that one horror game that's supposed to be coming out? It's supposed to be real, but it's not real. Everybody eventually stopped talking about it. What was that game?
Are you talking about that game that
everyone thought it was a Kojima game?
Yeah.
Everyone thought it was a Kojima game.
What happened to it?
Abandoned or whatever. Yeah.
Abandoned.
Where is it?
It got abandoned.
Abandoned. It seems Abandoned is officially dead. Back in 2024 in July, apparently it was announced that the game is done.
Fair.
Development has been.
I don't believe
start.
I don't believe that Silksong is real until we see some kind of trailer or something. You have to show us something now. I mean, you don't have to, but it would be nice if you actually just showed us something.
Hopefully, we don't have to deal with another year of chat going. There's no Silksong, therefore this showcase sucks.
I will say that if it doesn't come out this year, I will start to have a feeling that maybe it's never going to come out.
Because this is the kind of game that even people who've never played Hollow Knight are like, "Where's this game at now?"
Yeah. It's a weird one. It is a real weird one, but you know, things happen. Things happen. You never know what's going to happen. But we do have more news to get to as Jeff goes and deals with what I assume is his dog.
I kept thinking I was hearing their water fountain not fill properly, and it makes this weird sound. But it almost sounds like someone's using the lawnmower outside my stairs.
Oh, okay, that's very odd.
Because we have snow. And
Was it Reggie? You know Reggie that used to work for Nintendo. He doesn't have much to do these days. He's been playing a lot of video games apparently.
Yeah, he's been mowing my lawn.
He's mowing your lawn now.
That's what he does now.
Reggie's been playing video games, and he actually said something very positive about one particular video game recently. Which game was that, Jeff?
Adventure. Reggie Fils Me paid tribute to Astrobot and its developers on Tuesday as the game took home the top prize at the 2025 New York Game Awards. Sony and Team Asobi's PlayStation 5 platformer was nominated for 4 awards at the event, which was hosted by former Nintendo of America president and COO Phil Me. While it missed out on the Best World Award, which went to Elden Ring, Astrobot was named Best Kids Game, won the Best Music in a Game prize, and scooped up the coveted Game of the Year award. So I have to admit it, Astrobot almost outdid Nintendo at its own game, Fils-Me said, drawing laughter from some of the audience. Astrobot also won top prize at the Game Awards in Nintendo, and during his acceptance speech, director Nicolas Doucet said that he had been inspired by Nintendo's Mario games since he first encountered them as a child. That's kind of, the story in a nutshell is just like saying that they kind of outdid Nintendo at their own game.
They did what Nintendo don't.
They won the Nintendo award at the Game Awards.
They won the Nintendo award.
So I mean, like it's again, like there's not too many people in the industry. Like you don't see like Jim Ryan like congratulating Xbox on a release, where Phil Spencer is basically saying like he's posting
congratulating everyone.
PS5 case. And this is kind of Reggie's attempt to do that. So you don't really see these guys in like privileged positions, essentially like praising the other company's work.
But that's also how you can tell the ones that are actual gamers and the ones that are just pretending to be gamers.
It's like Jim Ryan. It's like you toss on like Last of Us Part 2 and he's like, oh, this is ugly. What the hell? Like, remake this. Like, dear...
I honestly love to
14 million polygons. This is bullshit.
I honestly would love to think that is really what happened. That would just be hilarious.
I mean, like he made that comment about Gran Turismo where he's like, "This is unplayable."
Yeah, and something about people don't want to play old games again, or something along those lines.
Awesome.
Yeah, like I don't know. Good riddance, Jim Ryan. You can go lay off people at your next job.
Yeah, we'll actually mention Jim Ryan more later on, but I want to save that news story for last. Let's continue with Nintendo because apparently they've not been doing something they should have been doing. What was that, Jeff?
Yeah, this is another weird one. So Nintendo has released a statement in response to players noticing that its Switch Donkey Kong remaster has removed all original developers from its credits. Released this week, released whenever this news was, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD was ported by Forever Entertainment. However, Retro Studios developers who created the original game are not named in the game's credits. Instead, they're represented by a message reading based on the work of the original development staff. Now, a Nintendo spokesperson has responded to the omission, stating that it values the contribution of all staff, but failing to explain why it decided to remove Return's original developers from its credits. We believe in giving proper credit for anyone involved or in contributing to the game's creation and value the contributions that all staff made during the development process, it told Eurogamer. This isn't the first time Nintendo has omitted the original developers from the credits of a remaster, nor the first time it's happened with a Retro Studios game. Same essentially happened with Metroid Prime Remastered. And this apparently has been an issue that Nintendo has kind of had. Like, this is such a dumb thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. This is something Nintendo does a lot for the weirdest reasons, because even like when you see like the Super Mario movie, they omitted like the original creators of Donkey Kong 64 from the credits there, and from like the song, like the song credits for the DK rap was also just omitted. So it's just like weird that Nintendo does this, but they do it because they say security reasons. But
The real reason
what
is
are the
if you're not.
security reasons for?
I mean, let's be real. For people that don't know how credits work, and this isn't always the case, but for many people it is, you get paid more if you're credited on something, and you can be entitled to royalties. So them not crediting you by name and crediting you by special mention and lumping you in a group actually avoids them having to pay you more money. So that could be the case of what's happening here. And I think it sucks because this whole news story to me basically is summed up as, we are Nintendo, we can do what we want, and we're not going to explain to you why we're doing it, because we're going to do it anyway. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, these people created some of the best things ever, you know? And it's like they deserve to have credit for that for the rest of time. Because if Keith goes on to YouTube and creates one of the best YouTube videos ever made,
I did
Keith
that one. I looked at it.
Keith would want credit for that for the rest of time. You know,
Yeah,
anything we
I
write.
remastered it. I re-released it, but I removed Keith from the video. He's just not.
That just reminds me of those TikTok videos people do where they're like reacting to a video, but they like don't put the person who's actually there. Just
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there like laughing. They're like, ah,
Yeah.
like
the crap.
yeah, it's so stupid.
But you know, it is what it is. Maybe this will make Nintendo's share price go down a bit again.
No. No, not at all.
Not till after the Switch 2 is released.
True,
Or after
true.
the Switch 2 is
I don't,
traded.
think I don't think Nintendo stock is going down for a very long time.
Do you know someone's stock who has gone down recently? EA. And why have their stock gone down, Jeff? According to them, that is.
They no longer sell sandwiches in their cafeteria.
I thought it was because Jordan couldn't play Dragon Age on his PC, so he divided.
Funnily enough, it might be. It actually might be.
I know, we'll find out. Well, here, I'll read the story and we'll find out whether or not it mentions Jordan. Electronic Arts has lowered its revenue forecast for its current business year, partly due to what it called the underperformance of FC25 and Dragon Age the Veilguard. EA's initial guidance for its current fiscal year ending March 31st anticipated mid-single-digit growth from its live service games, including FC25. However, the company warned the market on Wednesday that it now expects a mid-single-digit decline, with FC25 slowed down during the Christmas period, accounting for the majority of the change. Separately, EA said on Wednesday that Dragon Age Veilguard, the game in which Jordan from the Outerhaven could not finish, released in October, engaged around 1.5 million players during the 3 months ended December 31st, 2024, which it said was nearly half of its expectations. EA now expects net booking of around $2.21 billion for its third quarter and an updated range of $7 to $7.15 billion for the fiscal year, down from $7.5 to $7.8 billion. During Q3, we continued to deliver high-quality games and experiences across our portfolio. However, Dragon Age and EA Sports FC25 underperformed our net booking expectations, said EA CEO and Android Andrew Wilson. This month, our teams delivered a comprehensive gameplay refresh in addition to our original Team of the Year updates in FC25, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, obviously there was a lot of like talk about Dragon Age, and it's been fairly divisive just because a lot of people just didn't like the tone that it took, the direction that it took, even like the visuals that they went in with.
And it also became a game that was, I think it also became a game that just it sort of was like a scapegoat. People just enjoyed making fun of it, sort of thing, and therefore it got more hit. Like a lot of the hate it got probably wasn't even real and probably was from people who haven't even played the game.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is a shame. But however, when you do have literally thousands of people like myself that were not able to finish this game due to technical issues on PC, and that probably led to some refunds along the way, I'd imagine, it certainly isn't going to help this situation. So, it is a shame. But
yeah, because it was really good.
But in summary, what this story really means outside of Dragon Age is rich people can make a lot of money, but they're so greedy that they'll make the company worth less just because they're making a bit less money than they expected. Essentially. That's what this news story really means.
It didn't sell 3 million, therefore the whole company gets a pay cut. No.
Yeah, if you've seen, I don't know if you've seen it on Instagram or TikTok, whatever. There's these videos where it's like cartoon cats and stuff, and they have like the boss and they have the employee, and then they have a translator, and the translator basically translates all the leader like boss speak into like what the employee actually hears, and they're talking about how they're going to like kind of like change the company to be a bit more lean in regards to like its processes and stuff like that. And the translator goes like, yeah, they're firing 25% of you.
We need to automate more processes.
Yeah.
Get a bag.
But yeah, I mean, like that's the thing that kind of sucks about it, is like it is a solid game. I think there's a lot of people basically fixated on one or two things that were like, oh, I'm not playing this game because of
one
this.
character
and blah, blah, blah.
in particular a lot too.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't have to engage with that stuff. You can literally like just, skip through all that kind of stuff and whatnot. And
you can even change some of that stuff too, if you, depending on your choices.
Yeah. But yeah, I still like when, what was it? Asmongold got stuck into like their character being trans or something like that. And they were like freaking out. So funny.
You chose this. You choose the buttons you press.
Yeah. But they do talk about FC25 being kind of like a major factor as well too.
Yeah. More people care about the Veilguard stuff though.
Yeah.
Now I do want to talk about very seriously a company that probably is going to go out of business soon based on their current trajectory of cancelling every game known to man.
You think so?
What company is that, Jeff?
Sony has canceled more stuff, largely just because they panicked on Concord and basically just pulled the cord on everything.
That kind of feels like what's happened.
Yeah. Sony has canceled 2 unannounced live service PlayStation games, one of which is believed to have been a God of War game. Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reports that Sony canceled live service games in development at Bend Studio and Bluepoint Games, a report which has been confirmed by a Sony spokesperson. While Schreier's article doesn't describe the games in detail, he then took to Blue Sky to confirm that the game Bluepoint was working on was a live service God of War title. Sony spokesperson confirmed that both games have been canceled following a recent review, but stressed that neither studio would be closed down as a result of these cancellations. Bend and Bluepoint are highly accomplished teams who are valued members of the PlayStation Studios family, and we are working closely with each studio to determine what the next projects will be. Bend Studios' last game was 2019's Days Gone, which was released to mixed critical reception. The studio posted a job listing in March of 2024 looking for a lead project manager with hands-on development experience in leadership roles shipping AAA live service games. Bluepoint was acquired by PlayStation back in September of 2021, almost a year after the release of its last game, a PS5 launch day remake of Demon's Souls. So a lot of people since then have been waiting to see what Bluepoint's been working on. And apparently it was this live service God of War game. Who knows what Bend Studio was working on, but they could have already had Days Gone 2 out by now.
There were, so on the Bend Studio thing, some art and stuff from that game did leak. And my understanding is that it was some sort of military sim live service game. So something along the lines of a PUBG, but not Battle Royale necessarily. Yeah, so I think both of these teams were doing something quite interesting, and I actually would have liked to have seen both of these games given a chance, because Bluepoint have never had the opportunity to make their own game before, for one. Like,
they're strictly the remake people.
Yes, so it would have been nice to see what they could actually do on their own, and I think they deserve the opportunity of, like, okay, let's see what you can actually do on your own from scratch. And yeah, okay, not every live service game is going to work, but not every live service game is going to be a Concord either.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that PlayStation had literally the highest of highs of last year and the lowest of lows last year, with Helldivers 2 far surpassing their expectations, and then Concord flatlining.
Because I believe Shuhei Yoshida recently confirmed that Helldivers 2 actually sold more than Spider-Man 2, which they were surprised about. Like, they were genuinely shocked by that.
Helldivers 2 as well had the benefit of, like, being this multiplayer experience. So you had 4 copies being sold to, like, each group of friends or whatever the case is. I don't know how many multiplayer it is. But also, like, it was a game that influencers were playing the shit out of. For multiple times, whereas Spider-Man has that, like, you're watching 3 streams of them playing it, and then they moved on to the next thing, whereas, like, there's still people out there playing Helldivers 2.
And also with multiplayer games, I think that, and it isn't to say that word of mouth doesn't positively impact single player games, because it does, but with multiplayer games, I think the word of mouth thing is even more powerful, because it's like, oh, everyone's telling me this game's good, and I can play it with my friends. So people are more willing to take the risk, because sometimes playing with your friends can make you enjoy a game that you might not enjoy otherwise as well.
Unless that game is Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles, then nothing can save it.
Having another person makes it worse.
Review is out for that one. Gave it a 3.5 out of 10.
Fair. Oh, but I don't know how you guys feel, but this is gonna be our final topic, this Sony stuff. So, what do we think is going on right now, Keith? What do you think is happening with Sony and PlayStation right now?
If only my face could talk. They have no freaking clue what's going on. They're wasting studios that are amazing. You're making Bluepoint Games work on a live service game. Why are you doing this?
It's probably just like Dead by Daylight, but with Atreus and stuff.
I mean, at the very least, you could use them to remaster yet another game. Okay,
remake Infamous with them, darn it. No.
I mean,
they could have remade Bloodborne.
Can you imagine all the people right now that are like,
I know,
came out and like, they're working on Bloodborne. No, they were working on a live service game. What the hell, PlayStation? That's exactly what
it's almost like every studio was working on live service to follow this trend that no one wanted.
Yeah.
So
it's a funny one.
Yet again, this is PlayStation. This is a company that can't do no wrong, but it's always doing wrong. But the people don't realize that they're doing wrong because this is PlayStation. Xbox, guys are a bunch of morons. Well, this is PlayStation, and it'll get swept under the rug. Does anybody remember what happened to Conquer? No, because they don't talk about it anymore.
Because it flatlined. It's dead. Nobody cares.
They deleted it from everybody's account. Even the review copies.
But if you bring up Redfall, oh my God!
And yet Redfall was
alive,
far less of a failure. It was far less of a failure.
That's the double-edged sword yet again. If one company does one thing, it's okay, whatever. But if another company does something, it's a bad thing. PlayStation has this fantasization with live service games for some reason, and now they're realizing, hey, this is not what the gamers want. So why
I think it's what Genshin Impact was doing, and they're like, hey, we need some of that money.
I think it's because they, like the rest of the industry, know that the thing about live service games is you only need one to be a massive hit, and then it literally makes you hundreds of millions a year for the rest of time.
They want the passive income that live service game.
They have Bungie. They could do it the right way.
Bungie was apparently helping with Concord. That did not work, apparently.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why Bungie's not working right, but we won't get into that conversation either. You know,
I will say
you don't need to have a live service game. There are enough live service games out there right now that are doing well, and we don't need to add more because people are like, well, if they're doing it, then we can do it. It's like, do you understand how long these games took to get to where they are?
And I think, to be quite frank about it, unless you're going to put your game literally on every platform that it could run on, then there's no point doing a live service game because it will never compete with the competition.
You know why they're doing this, Jordan? I'll explain why this is. It's really easy. You ready?
Go on.
Money makes people do stupid things.
Yeah. It does give me concern for Haven Studios now, though. For those that don't know, Haven Studios is the new studio of Jade Raymond, who give me 1 second, sorry.
Who keeps getting bounced around the industry.
Well, I mean, her and Amy Hennig. Like, Amy Hennig finally has a game coming out since Uncharted 3.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous what's happening to them.
Is that game actually going to come out, though? But, like, Jade Raymond obviously was one of the brains behind Assassin's Creed originally as well. So there is that. So
yeah, that series got better when she left.
I mean that's fair for some people, but I just would like to see, you know, it would be a real shame if they've brought up this studio just as it was starting up, rather than doing the simple, clever thing of, okay, we'll give you money, we'll invest, and we'll publish your first game, and we'll see how you get on. It's going to be, we bought you, and now we're going to close you down because we don't actually want what you're making.
You mean like Firewall Studios?
Yeah, and it just really concerns me. And what concerns me even more is that they're cancelling all of these things, but then Herman Holst still comes out and makes a comment, which is, we are all in on live service games, which means that all they're really doing is cancelling the things that they didn't think were going to work, and they're going back to the drawing board. That's kind of what it sounds like.
Like, how do you not do a Killzone live service?
Yeah, if you want to make a live service game, you have two IPs right there.
They could even do like honestly, they could even do like a live service game where it just combines Killzone and Resistance.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that PlayStation could do with live service, but I also think that they shouldn't focus so much on it.
No, let the third parties run it out, because I mean, you got Fragpunk coming out right away as well too. Yeah. You got tons of other ones and stuff. Like there's there's tons of them that I'm like, I even still want to play. It's really tough to like get invested in those games when you are when you're solo queuing into these multiplayer games.
Yeah. You need a group in some games, like Marvel Rivals helps a lot when you have a group that plays.
What I will say from a PlayStation perspective is I do agree with their need to find a wider variety of games. I don't think all of those games need to be live service though, right? They need to go back to the single player thing, and they need to think, okay, we can do the third person kind of action adventure type thing, but what else could we do in single player that's different? You know,
well, I mean, they've been doing sad dad games for a while. They could do happy dad games. They
could bring back Motorstorm.
Maybe happy mom games. No,
yeah, sad mom games. Oh my God, we're done.
We found it.
The first of everybody coming out January 2028.
Maybe they're just going to make every single one of their games a Horizon game. I don't know.
No. The problem that I have with
Herman
PlayStation...
Hulse, look who's running the damn company.
well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. So you've got these games that made PlayStation, do PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3, and then
they do nothing with them. Yeah.
Resistance.
Yeah.
Where's
That's
Resistance?
why I've said
Where's
Astrobot, for as good as it is, it's an IP graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Motorstorm? Like, these games made PlayStation 3. Where are they?
When ATV Off-Road Fury 3.
Do you know what genuinely should come back, but I also feel like it might be coming back?
Jammerland.
Is Infamous.
Never happening.
Yes,
Never
I
happening.
would wish Infamous would come back.
So I think Infamous should come back, and I think it might be coming back. But I actually have a sneaking suspicion that it might not be the same studio making the game.
No, it won't be.
I think it's going to be an Insomniac game.
Who wants Infamous when you have Prototype?
And the reason I think it's going to be an Insomniac game is because I forget the person's name right now. I believe it's Drew Murray, but he left Xbox's The Initiative studio after joining them from Insomniac, where he was the head of Sunset Overdrive, right? And then he's returned to Insomniac, but I don't think they're going to make a Sunset Overdrive 2 because that IP is in a weird place.
Yeah, it is.
However, what is the most similar thing to Sunset Overdrive that PlayStation already have? I feel like it's Infamous, right?
Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Yeah, but outside of Spider-Man, so I have a sneaking suspicion that we could see them kind of throwing their IPs around to different studios and seeing what they can do with it.
And the reason why I say that because they're working on Wolverine, and after Wolverine, it'll be another Marvel-based game.
They have 3 teams, though.
Well, there's the
they do
rumor
have
of, like,
3
the Venom
teams
game or whatever. And if the Venom game is real, there's your Prototype, because Prototype was just a Venom game.
True. And that was something else that I wanted to talk about, actually, because Phil Spencer, during his recent interview, made an interesting comment, and it made me think, what does that mean? He talked about how one of the reasons they are starting to kind of build up steam now with their pipeline is because they've got into the place where all of the studios are actually helping each other and they're able to communicate and kind of better work together. So, like, you know, but he went on to talk about how they'll even communicate about things like, and he specifically mentioned, how would you feel about somebody else using your IP? And it made me think, because what he said just before that was, the team will communicate about things like the Fallout TV show. And that leads to conversations of how would you, and it made me feel like that was him teasing something without giving enough information to, because you know how Phil is, right? And I've had speculation for quite a while now that the next Fallout game is going to be an Obsidian-made Fallout game. Because I don't think they're going to wait another 8 years for a Fallout game, right? Because that's how long they're going to need to wait if they wait for Bethesda.
Yeah, seriously. Obsidian's a whole lot better when it comes to actually spouting out games than Bethesda is at this point.
And the only Obsidian team without a game right now is being led by the person that made Fallout New Vegas. So it just kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? But
we're about to get peak Fallout.
Yeah, let's just hope that one, if it does happen, is less buggy.
Fair.
But is it really a Fallout game if it's not buggy?
True. True. Very true. I look forward to Fallout Season 2 while we're on the subject of the TV show. Cause that's going to be interesting. It's going to be
fun to see what they do with the New Vegas set.
So, before we close off this episode here, because we actually got through this news quicker than I expected, is there anything that anyone would like to talk about that we've missed? Maybe you've seen and you think, oh, I really want to talk about this or that?
I really thought you were going to talk about the Phil Spencer review, where they did state that they will be making another Xbox, and they do want that Xbox to compete based on its capability.
Yeah, I did have the news there going, and I thought Jordan was just skipping it essentially.
No, I actually just missed that. That's my bad. But let's talk about that now.
I'll read this in there. Phil Spencer has discussed where Xbox console hardwares fit with its new, more approach to multi-platform game development. Since the start of last year, Microsoft has brought a increased number of games to rival platforms, and its gaming CEO, Phil Spencer, has said that there are no red lines for which games it could port next. Its new marketing campaign even proclaims that virtually any device is now an Xbox. This has left many Xbox console owners wondering where their device fits in Microsoft's plans for an even more open ecosystem. Xbox's Spencer was asked about this in a new interview with Gamertag Radio. I want people to pick hardware based on the capabilities of that hardware and how that fits into the choices that they want to make about where they want to play. And we want our hardware to win based on the hardware capabilities that we have. I think the difference that we've seen in the last 20 years, and I think this is good because I come from building games, is that it really is games first, not platform first. Most of the games that you or I will talk about run across so many different platforms, and those are the games that are having success, and those are the games that are at the top of the charts. I want to build a platform that services those creators, the creators that are trying to meet people on every single screen. So I think Phil's definitely right, because I think when people generally talk about a lot of games, they don't reference the platform. I mean, I think some choices come down to whether or not they talk about DualSense features or whether or not they talk about, the games going into, what is it called? Game
Pass or
no. Hold on.
Like the early access, like game preview.
No, not game preview here. Let me open up a game that is still in progress here. It's Quick Resume. Whether they have features like that. I think that those types of features are good points and stuff. But again, like he talks about it is games first, platform second.
Yeah.
And I think when you have,
and that is correct.
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of people don't understand that Xbox is an ecosystem, so they can put all their shit everywhere. Yeah. And I think it's going to come down to like features that really determine where people are kind of playing when they're undecided of where they're going.
And the funny thing is, years ago, it used to be more like that. It used to be that a certain machine would run the games better or have a better version of the video game, and that is where people would go. And I think he is right in that. I think messaging that to people after things being a certain way for so long, though, is the tricky part, right?
Yeah, and the one thing that a lot of people fail to realize is if you have developer A who's making a game and you have consoles A, B, and C, and one of them is significantly more powerful, one of them is a lot weaker, whatever the case is, but when they make a game, they baseline it to what essentially the lowest common denominator is, so that it runs perfect. So then you don't have this question of like the game's going to be running better or whatever the case is, because they have a baseline that they meet in the middle. So you can have a console that's drastically more powerful, and that's great for first-party stuff. But for third-party stuff that's on everything, you're getting the best version of that game based on a baseline.
Yeah, because you're still being held back to a certain extent by whatever that baseline is, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
However, are we no longer getting a Xbox Series S scenario ever again?
I don't think they will.
I don't think we are from Xbox.
I think you're getting two SKUs. I think you're getting the
handheld
and the console, and that's
and I really think, based on what they're saying here, Keith, I was going to ask you this, but I've said this to you a few times. I believe that the way they're talking about it, they're basically going to try and do something that's very powerful, and for a console, to put that in perspective. For a console, I think they're going to try and do something that's very powerful. And I don't know whether they're going to aim that at the premium console user, because I'm not sure any of those really exist.
Tell that to the pro.
No, they'll just get a PC. Like, honestly, if you release anything that is like as expensive as the PlayStation 5 Pro, you're fucking done.
Yeah.
Do you want me to reiterate what I said to you before? Because we could do that.
We're on a podcast,
right now. Okay. So for all you people out there who think the Xbox is going to be able to deliver a premium handheld experience for under a certain amount of money, you are delusional and are crazy and are drinking the Kool-Aid. You're not going to get a premium handheld device for under $1,000 that's going to give you a decent gaming experience.
What about a premium console?
Okay, so here we go. So I'm just talking about handheld. I'm not talking about console, because the console, they could do that because it's an architecture thing. Yeah. You can make a tower.
So with console, they could do it. Yeah,
you can do whatever you want to do for the console, because you're not buying specialized parts to stuff them in something this freaking big.
True.
And call it a premium experience. We've got the MSI Claw 8 AI for $1,000. The ROG Ally X is $700. Every other new handheld device coming out outside of Nintendo that has a more powerful processor and crap in it is at least $800. At least. With smaller batteries.
Yeah, but I think like Xbox has kind of always taken a cut on hardware as well too.
No, I get that. I understand that.
I think they'll undercut the market to get it out.
That's the thing. There is no hardware to undercut. It doesn't exist.
No, you take a look at like the
are
PlayStation
they willing to
3
take a loss? That's what
they sold that thing for like 700 Canadian or whatever, and it had a manufacturing cost of $1,000.
And this is what I said to Jordan. What is the point of Xbox bringing out a handheld that has the same freaking hardware as, say, the ROG Ally 2 or the Lenovo Go 2?
Well, I think that there's like things that they can do with
because there's still features they could have the others don't, right?
That can hide a lot of that stuff.
If it's the same hardware, they don't have any different features.
I don't know.
You say that, but so I'll talk about, and what I'm saying about features, right?
I want them to prove me wrong. That's all I say.
I agree. I agree, but you talk about features. Technically, the Xbox Series X and the PS5 are the same hardware. Technically.
No,
right?
They're not the same hardware. They were designed with different feature set. That's not the same.
But they are still technically the same hardware. If we compare it to PCs.
X86 architecture, they're the same as a PC if you want to go that route, yes.
Yeah, but they have different feature sets. So why couldn't they do that in a handheld?
Because with a handheld, you're not... It's a lot harder for a handheld. The SoC that you're paying for is going to be a lot harder. When you're getting the same hardware from the same people, which unfortunately most of the people is going to AMD right now.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to AMD and saying, build me a customized chipset and I will pay you, then that conversation changes. But right now, everybody, with the exception of right now, Lenovo, who was paying for a underpowered chipset, which is why.
Yeah, that one was dumb.
Everybody's using the same hardware.
True.
Doing the same thing. That's exactly why you got the Steam Deck that you can.
But then,
run
to be fair,
on the ROG Ally.
Let's put the handheld aside for a minute and go to the console conversation.
That's the one I care about.
Because Phil Spencer talking about how he wants you to buy an Xbox basically based on the specs and features of the machine, right? That was what made me think, they are actually going to do the premium console thing. Because that's kind of how it sounds, right?
They said that, but here's my thing.
But nobody believed them when they said it.
And I still don't believe Phil Spencer.
Okay, interesting.
I don't believe a word that he says right now. Because right now, he is the hype man. He is spinning things. He wants you to believe in the Xbox brand. Fine. But when you're taking games from... right now, the way I feel, the skin that I have in this game is non-existent. I could care less. You know what I care about. But...
Bloodborne. No, that's...
What if they took those games away from PC, Keith?
You can't take games away from PC. It's impossible. We've shown you
with Concord.
We've shown you that we can run Bloodborne better on the PC than you can on the PlayStation 3. Come on now. Just give us some time, and we'll get it done.
Fair.
So the problem I have with this hardware talk, and I want to believe, I own 3 Xbox Series X. Well, 2. I've been invested in Xbox since the original Xbox, which I still own. But when you're doing what you're doing and taking games and putting them on other platforms, but then not assuring people who own the Xbox that you'll still have exclusives or reason to own the console, because regardless, at the end of the day, as much as we hate hearing this, there is a reason why people buy the platform. They want an exclusive. They want a reason to buy this. If you're releasing the same games on a PlayStation,
and that is true. That is true.
There needs to be a reason. It's no different than a car.
The funny thing is, though, that is true, but attach rates show us that for the majority of people, that isn't the case. The majority of people who buy a console don't even buy or play the exclusive games.
No, there's so many people that buy like a PlayStation, they buy FIFA and Madden, and then they go work in the rigs, basically. And that's the majority of a lot of people where the sales are coming from. The amount of PS4s that we sold with like Madden and FIFA and all that kind of stuff to just like people that were out working like 20 days and then back 5 and all that stuff. We sold so many consoles to that.
So I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that exclusives aren't important and that they aren't important for perception's sake. But I do think that our segment of the audience thinks that exclusives are more important than they are in the wide scheme of gaming itself.
I mean, if they weren't still important or worthwhile, then why isn't Spider-Man 2 on Xbox and PlayStation?
And why do people still buy the Switch?
Why is Mario exclusive to the Switch?
But so that was my other point.
Well, it's because Nintendo's got a Nintendo.
Nintendo is the only one where the exclusive thing applies.
I don't know about that. Spider-Man 2 still sold a lot on just being on the PS5.
PlayStation is right there with Nintendo. They still have the exclusive games that people want.
To a certain extent.
But look at the attach rates.
It's because you take a look at like, all right, so how many PS4 sold? Or
120 million, I believe, PS4s.
So how many
PS5s are around 60 million, I believe.
65 million. Now. So PS4 sales, how many had they sell? How many PS4s?
I think it was 120 120.
All right, so 117.2 million. All right,
that was close.
So how many Spider-Man Sony games sold? Wait, hold on. I'm wording that wrong. Marvel's Spider-Man 1 game sales.
This is going to be interesting to hear. Because this is what I'm talking about. If you look at the attach rates of exclusives,
yeah. See, they're showing everything, not just PlayStation. But let's say for example that Spider-Man on PS1 sold 20 million copies. That means there's like 90 million people that didn't buy that game.
Yeah,
the majority.
And that's
of
kind of the point I'm making.
Don't buy the exclusives. That's the absolute fact of it.
Whereas Nintendo, it's the opposite. Nintendo, every single person that owns that platform, most of the time buys the exclusive games.
I think part of the equation that is not being added or is being glossed over is the fact that there are less exclusive on Nintendo than there are on other platforms.
Yeah.
So for every person who buys a Switch and buys Mario Kart 8, okay, you've got, we'll just say 1 million of them.
Yeah.
Then you got 20 different exclusive games that are on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, but I mean, like in terms of like publisher made, there's more Nintendo exclusives that are published by Nintendo that are on PS5 that are published by Sony.
The only real difference is that there are less third-party games on Switch. That's the only difference. But how much of an impact does that really have?
Well, it doesn't make an impact anymore because people double dip when they literally tell you when they own a Switch, I own a PC and a Switch, I own a a PlayStation and a Switch. I own an Xbox and a Switch.
Yeah.
So the Switch is seen as a I don't say alternative. I want to say a
It's an extension of your game.
Yeah, we know we can't get the games that we want on Switch, so we buy another platform so we can play those games and then play Nintendo games on top of that. So that's adding a little bit of confusion because I'm buying the Switch regardless because I want Nintendo. I'm buying a PlayStation because I want PlayStation games. So it's like, that doesn't really help.
But that's why I say that I'm not saying exclusives are not important. I just think that their importance is maybe inflated in our section of the gaming audience.
Well, when you look at like the top 5 selling games of the year, they're all multi-platform, third party.
Yeah, and I think that that's the point that Phil Spencer's making, where most of the biggest games ever in gaming are not exclusive to any one particular platform. The only one that breaks that is Nintendo. Like, they are the only one that gets anywhere near the actual top sales numbers ever in gaming on some of their games.
I think there's a lot of variables that people just
I think the problem is if you just base it on sales, you don't base it on a lot more than just that. There's a lot more variables at stake. The people's perception of PlayStation is because of its IPs.
And that's why I say the perception is where the exclusives are important.
Well, people
perception matters.
Important. They make them sound bigger than they are. But when you have 120 million consoles out there, and your flagship best-selling first-party game is selling 25 million,
and that's kind of exactly what I'm saying, is the perception is that the exclusives are more important than they are, but without the exclusives, that perception of that platform being better wouldn't exist, right? And that's where they become important, because what happens is people like us who pick these machines up on day one or on week one go and tell our friends, oh, you can get these 10 games only on this platform. Come and get this platform. And then they do because their friend already has it. That's what happens, right? That will go away if these places are not keeping exclusive games anymore.
And this is why I don't
people enable freaking crossplay on their games.
But this is why I'm interested, because going back to the Xbox thing, yes, that is a concern I have about Xbox. But then trying to look at it from the other perspective, if we do for a moment take them at their word that they are doing another console and that they are trying to do what they say they're trying to do, with that in mind, what is their selling point going to be? Because it can't just be Game Pass, right? Like, Game Pass is a fairly strong selling point. I'll give them that. Game Pass is a fairly strong selling point. But
I mean, infrastructure is a big thing as well, too. If you have people that have been playing PlayStation Call of Duty for the last, 8 or 9 years, they're probably going to stay there unless they own the other platforms, and then they move over because they can get the game for cheap.
Yeah, so I think another thing to go along with that is also going to be able to bring their digital libraries. That was a big reason why a lot of people went to PS5 too, is because the PS4 library came with them. And that is the same.
And that's where digital changed things, right? And that's why
it's physical.
Not just digital, also physical. The fact that I can throw in an Xbox One game, an Xbox Series X, or a PlayStation 4 game in my PS5
because of back compat, right? Yeah,
exactly. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of different variables that.
But that's also. But that's also the reason that we could be in a situation where, even if Xbox has no exclusives and Game Pass is their only selling point, they still might have a built-in audience of 35 million people, right?
Well, I mean, you can't really say they don't have any exclusives, because just like what Scott mentioned, just because I ran and bought an Xbox Series X doesn't mean I can't go back to Xbox's past console or past
That's true.
And play those games. That's what a lot of people have been doing. There's no reason for me to buy an Xbox One like I can buy an Xbox Series X. and still play those games.
I think that the one thing I wish for from Xbox right now, and it's the hardest thing for them to do, is I understand that, okay, you're saying that not everything will be multi-platform. And I do actually believe you when you say that. Because it looks like South of Midnight, at least in the medium term, is only coming to the Xbox platform. So I do believe them when they say that. But I think they need to have a clearer messaging around how those decisions are made so that people can have the expectation around each individual game and be like, okay, this one is actually going to be exclusive and this one isn't, and things like that. I think they need to get better with that messaging. But Jeff, I know that you have a final question for people.
No, I was going to say I think that would go a long way. That's the issue. Again, that's the problem, the messaging.
So how would you do it, Keith? If it was you making the decision, how would you message that?
I would simply come out and tell people, look, hey, we know that we told you that certain games are coming out to other platforms. So what I would do is I would make a new I'm trying to say the correct word here.
Like a new publishing label?
Not a new publishing label, but this is called a product line, okay?
Okay.
Xbox best, Xbox exclusive, Xbox only, something like that, and say these games are going to be part of this label and they're never going anywhere. They're staying here.
So almost like a new stamp that you can put on something where it's like once that thing has this.
Asking Phil about that, he says there is none.
Yeah, that's the and see. So the problem is, you tell us that not all games are going to go to other platforms, but then at the same time, you tell us there's no certainty that there won't be anything that's a reason for me to buy an Xbox.
But then, do you know what I think the problem is with that? Is what he's saying is the truth, because he shouldn't ever give you certainty that any game will never go to another platform.
Yeah, because then when they do it, they've suddenly lied.
And that's the problem. This is the issue of Xbox. They cannot get the messaging right, and they cannot be certain that something's not going to change 2, 3, 4, 5 a year later. When
but
you
neither can
they say this is a PlayStation game.
But then when they changed, but this is what I'm saying. But every company has things where they say things as certain, and then 3, 4, 5 years later they change their mind and they don't get the same heat. So what is better? Say nothing or be honest and be like, we cannot guarantee, but this is what we're saying for now.
Well, that's the problem. If you're telling me that you can't guarantee, then why am I going to buy your hardware?
Yeah, true.
Because you're saying again on the hardware capabilities.
What does that mean? Like, what
we don't know until we know, right?
Exactly. What does that mean? Are you telling me you're going to give me
let me okay then. So let me ask you, Keith, as a PC gamer, because I know Jeff has another question he wants to ask people, but quick one for you, Keith. It's the same reason in my mind of why are you going to try and buy a 5090?
My question actually translates kind of into what Keith was going to say, or at least alluding to, and let me know if I'm wrong. What is a feature for the next Xbox that screams that
buy me? Exactly.
Me? Like what is your most dream feature for the next Xbox?
I guess that
I can go first.
Question to everybody.
Yeah, I can go first.
Okay.
We've seen this kind of stuff on PC, with things like Parsec and stuff like that. But I want the ability that if I'm playing a certain game right now, which I'm playing, that is only local co-op, I want the ability to transfer that local co-op into an online session on the next Xbox. So if I'm playing,
like the Switch Online feature thing,
by using like a
like a Steam Online. Steam.
Or like a Parsec situation.
Yeah, it's basically, so if I'm playing a game right now that I'm playing and it only has local co-op, and Jordan has it as well, and we can't play online together, but if we were able to use some type of system that they've got built into the next Xbox, and suddenly every single local co-op game has online play, whether
by
it's
default
through cloud or through whatever, That's what I want. I want the end of local only co-op.
That would be cool. Scott, have you got any ideas for that one? What would be one feature for you?
One thing for me that I would want for it would be complete emulation. Allowing us to have full access to play any Xbox 360
Yeah, the
game.
problem is licensing comes into that. That's the
thing. No, that's only if you sell the titles. Just give me the emulator and give me access to the emulator. That lets me to run the discs that I own.
I still think that because some games are only licensed for the hardware that they're licensed for, and if they're playable on other hardware, official hardware, I think there's a licensing issue. So I'm not sure.
It depends on the emulator itself, but they've been able to do that with the developer mode emulator. But that emulator doesn't let you have CD access. It only lets you have.
Oh yeah, trust me. I want modern hardware to play. I want modern hardware to be able to play Magna Carta 2. I don't want to have to attach my Xbox.
How much of a selling point do we think that would be if they did turn around and be like, yes, you can play every single game ever released on an Xbox on this machine?
Well,
that would sell the audience.
Yeah, it depends on the audience. For those who are big fans of retros who own every Xbox game dating back to the original Xbox, that might be a big thing for them, especially playing the original Xbox games. Oh my god, yes.
Interesting. Yes. So for you, Keith, what's one feature you'd like to see that you think could be the system selling feature?
I would love for the new Xbox to come out with a brand new controller. A brand new
Why miss with perfection?
I mean, perfection is okay, but when it's no longer perfect, because I do think the DualSense controller is a better controller than the Xbox controller.
I don't know. That battery sucks.
Is it just because of the features?
I plug in my controller, so I don't care.
Is that can I ask? Is that just because of the features of the controller?
Yes. Oh my god.
So if they just did the Xbox controller as it is now, but with those features,
they cannot just copy. They have to surpass. And I know that's hard because you don't
I just don't want the haptic triggers where I have to break my finger to fire an arrow. I turned that shit off. I've turned it off the day I got my PS5 and never turned it back on.
It has to have something like that. It has to support Bluetooth. It has to support Bluetooth. I'm talking to you, PlayStation.
Just better rumble, because I'm playing a game that I'm under embargo right now. I mean, I can say what game it is because we're allowed to talk about up to the part on the demo. But I'm playing a game right now where I'm hunting monsters and stuff like that, not Monster Hunter. And every single time I do something, my controller just vibrates in this one high rumble, and just it goes on for 19 seconds, and I had to turn the vibration off.
Wow.
It is pretty lackluster. I'll leave it.
Yeah. Fair.
I want to let me finish. I want a better system for allowing us to upgrade our hard drives. None of this BS and I gotta take out my old hard drive.
Get rid of proprietary stuff.
That's gone.
Yeah,
completely gone. We don't need that anymore. We don't want that anymore. And hey, we actually want hardware that supports ray tracing that won't suck up our frame rate. Give us that.
Yeah, see, a lot of that stuff is just standard kind of hardware revisions and stuff like that, as opposed to.
But we don't have hardware that does it. Sure. But we don't have hardware on the console side that does it though. So until we get it, it's not standard.
Till the Switch
I think we're probably getting closer though.
And to answer your question, what you asked, Jordan, why do I want a 5090 other than it's a sexy piece of hardware? As I mentioned to you, if I buy this 5090 and then I want to sell this 4090 for the same price that I brought this 4090 to put it towards the money that I paid for this 5090,
you're not actually paying that much, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Why would I not do that?
Can I get one of those?
Because the problem we have right now is they don't make the 4090 anymore.
Yeah.
They use a lot of the silicone for the 5090 from the 4090. So those are gone. And people can't afford to pay $2,000 for a video card, but they'll be happy to spend $14 or $15 for that 4090 and still get the benefits from a 1080 or a 2080 or a 3080.
I'm going to go a bit more unrealistic with my hope for the next Xbox console. But but just, if any console manufacturer is ever going to do this, it will be Xbox and Microsoft.
What is it?
And that is, to some degree, make the system upgradable outside of just storage. Even if it's a
console.
Even if it's a thing where you go, okay, you can upgrade the RAM, or you can upgrade.
Jordan, I'm gonna end your dream right here. What you're effectively doing is making the launch Xbox the Series S. Because then you are creating an Xbox that has so many different tiers of like how it would run, how it will work. You're just making a PC that
you know what you're doing. You're making a blasted PC. That will never happen. That will never happen.
No.
Because then you'll have games that run. Because then you'll have games that run differently. Oh, you can upgrade your RAM. Now your game runs a little better. Well, how come my game runs like shit? Because you don't have enough memory. Can I get more memory? You sure can. Wait, this sounds like a PC.
Trying to do the N64 expansion.
But you know what I'd say? Like I've always said to you, though, Keith. Like I've always said to you, though, Keith. I do think a market exists if you can make a device which is essentially a PC,
I would not do that.
but much easier to use. Because the thing that puts most people off a PC still is the problems that they face, and they like the plug and play nature of a console, right?
I like that.
So you're asking unironically for the KFC console.
Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, sure, you can make a game that's a baseline, but then you have to take it apart. You have to take account. All right, what if somebody has a faster processor now? What if they have more memory now? And that's what you don't want to throw in there. That's already an issue for the PC.
Yeah, that's the issue that the Xbox Series S has, is suddenly you have a weaker console, and then you have games that are being built for a certain degree of RAM, and then suddenly your console has twice the RAM, but for what reason, really? Because it's still going to have that parity. Like, it's only going to run marginally better. I mean, you take a look at the PlayStation 5 Pro, and some games run really good, and then some games, there's the updates are not as noticeable.
That's true. That's a good point. I was just trying to think along the lines of what is something they could do that was so different that would make it a selling point.
But see, that's the problem. As you get further and further and further down hardware, there's just, you have to think, what exactly can I do? What is it that I can do now to make my hardware stand out? Until we get to the vision that I've said 15 years ago, we'll just have one box to rule them all.
Do you know another thing that I would like to see that might be more realistic as we end up here on this episode? Some sort of casting feature. Because we know that the Nintendo Switch 2 might have something like this, where you're able to wirelessly cast the signal of the machine to a TV without plugging it in, effectively, or another screen without plugging it in. That would actually be quite cool if I could do that, because then you would allow me to potentially use my 2-monitor setup here to have my game running, and maybe I could have YouTube on the side as well, right?
Yeah, but you got to figure the input delay would be kind of iffy on certain games.
Yeah,
especially fighting games.
Yeah, that's the problem.
True. But I'll be intrigued to see, because it does sound like they are trying to do something with the hardware, which is going to make the hardware a selling point. Right?
And I don't want to sound like that I'm being asinine or I don't believe them. I just put your money where your mouth is kind of scenario. I want to see this.
It's kind of, you need to see it before you believe it, right?
It's like, I've been around the block long enough, Phil. I know what's out there, Phil. I think I'm older than you, Phil. I've seen it. I need to know exactly what it is that you're trying to do. I've seen all the gimmicks. I've seen the stuff that worked, the stuff that didn't work. What is it that you're going to put on this next console that's going to make it worthwhile?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, and I'm going to say it right now. whenever we get that console announcement, we'll bring both of you back to have this conversation again. But thank you for joining us for this, our 51st episode. And do you have anything to plug as we finish up here?
Flu shots, get them. They work.
Yes.
What about yourself, Scott?
All I'm just saying is you should get into the Trail series, especially since the remake is happening this year.
Fair. There we go. And obviously make sure you follow the Outerhaven, not just for myself, because I'm there all the time as well, but for the lovely Keith Mitchell and Scott, who basically reviews 1 million games a year. He's like another version of Jeff. But for now...
you said you're always there? Are you there right now? See,
right
you're
now.
not there. You're not there right now.
I mean, I'm logged into the back end of the site. Does that count?
Yes. No.
But anyway, for now, this has been our 51st episode. Thank you for joining us. Please remember to like, subscribe, share with all your friends. Who knows? Maybe we'll show up on the Spectator Mode podcast.
Oh God, the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase, showed up at Saturday Night Main Event.
What a random way of finishing the show there. But if you're a wrestling fan,
hey, at least Hogan cancelled. He's not there anymore.
Thank God for
did
that.
Did he cancel or did they say no? We don't want you there.
They said because of family issues, but my guess is they're like, hey, yeah, we don't want
we don't want you bring. But yes, so if you like us and you hate Hulk Hogan, please like this episode and subscribe to the show, and we will see you again very soon. Goodbye.
You know what I thought I want to see the new Xbox?
Go on, quickly.
Good airflow.
Fair. There you have it, people. Good airflow, and Keith will buy the console. We'll hold him to that. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
See you, folks.
See ya.